Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video, and today we're going to be talking for a bit about the Los Angeles Lakers. Last time I made a video focused on them was after they won the IST Finals, and talking about how they pretty much didn't make any sense. There were some games where they would look like world beaters, where LeBron and Anthony Davis looked like two of the best players in the world, and then some games where the squad completely fell apart and they seemed like a lottery team. Of course, a lot of games in between those two ends, but for the most part, a lot of games were on one side of the spectrum. They were a roller coaster ride of a squad, but it was enough at that point in the season to at least get them the NBA Cup and make them feel like a team that can make a run in the postseason if they just put it together consistently. Since that point, have not put it together consistently. In fact, it's been the exact opposite. They've been consistently pretty bad since they won the in-season tournament finals. Good example of this is last night's game against the Miami Heat, which wasn't particularly close. The Heat led for every single minute of the game outside of the first few. They led by double digits for a decent portion of the game, and by midway through the fourth, the game was pretty much over. Heat ended up getting a 16-point lead. Lakers cut into it a little bit, but the Heat win 110-96 in another shorthanded win for a Heat team that continues to find ways to put them together. They had no Jimmy Butler in this game, but 15 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals from Bam Adebayo, 21, 6, 4, and 3 from Tyler Hero, 13 from Duncan Robinson. Jaime Jaquez had 16 points and 8 assists. Nikola Jovic had 15 points and 8 rebounds in the starting lineup. As usual, it was a team effort from this Heat squad that, despite as many injuries as they've had, they've been the most beat-up team in the league. They continue to find ways to put things together and remain as one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Meanwhile, for the Lakers, this is just another loss in a string of them. Since that win against Indiana in the IST final on December 9th, the Lakers are 3-9, including blowout losses to the Spurs and Bulls, two teams who they really shouldn't be getting blown out by. I will give them credit, got a convincing win over my Oklahoma City Thunder where they physically could not miss from three, but for the most part, outside of that game and a couple of other moments, they really haven't played much good basketball since winning the NBA Cup, and with that loss to the Heat last night, they fall to 17-18, one game below 500, and they're currently tied with the Warriors for the 10-11 spot, on the verge of falling out of the play-in race entirely, when I personally thought they were going to be up there towards the top of the standings. I thought the Lakers were going to be a championship contender, carry over what they did in the playoffs last year, making the Western Conference Finals, carry over what they did just over the course of the entire second half of last season. I like their offseason, and none of it has come to fruition yet. They look really, really bad right now. Not to mention the fact that all of this failure has come in the midst of one of the better stretches of Anthony Davis's time as a Laker. Honestly, it's been one of the more dominant stretches of his entire career. He's been a monster on both ends, putting up 30 points per game, 12 boards and 4 assists to go with 1.5 steals and 2.5 blocks, while shooting nearly 60% from the field and 45% from deep. He's hitting his shots. He's been a force defensively, one of the single most impactful defenders in the entire league. If the Lakers were better, he'd probably be up there as a top 2-3 DPOY candidate if he isn't already. He's legit playing like an MVP and Defensive Player of the Year type player on a nightly basis. Some of the best basketball we've ever seen from him, and it hasn't mattered at all because the Lakers still can't put together wins. Last night against the Heat in that very comfortable loss for them, AD had 29, 17, 6, 3, and 5. He was 2 steals off of a 5x5 on 60% shooting, and the Lakers still lost by double digits. Not to mention, he's actually having a healthy season. AD has only missed a couple of games so far. He's playing out of his mind. He's looked like the exact version of Anthony Davis you want to see if you're the Lakers, if you're a Lakers fan, if you're just a basketball fan in general, and it hasn't led to any wins. You've also got his co-star in LeBron James, who just turned 39 years old, also playing some fantastic basketball. He did have a stinker of a game against the Heat last night, just 12 points, 6 boards, 9 assists on 33% shooting. Not Bron's best game, in fact, one of the worst games of his season, but over this same stretch that Anthony Davis has been playing well on, he's been averaging 25 points, 7 boards, 9 assists, 1 steal on 48% shooting from the field, 37% from deep, even shooting 82% from the line, which is pretty high for LeBron James. I can tell you firsthand he's been a monster because he had 40 points on 65% shooting, perfect from 3 against my favorite team, the Thunder. He has been really good as of late and is just having another great season. Again, at the age of now 39 years old, him and Anthony Davis are having some of the best combined seasons they've had together as Lakers. They've hardly missed any games. Bron and AD have both been healthy, which has been a problem for them the past few years. Yet they're still bad. If one or both these guys was injured or they were just not playing up to their standards and they were losing games, it would be understandable, and there would at least be that glimmer of hope that they'll maybe get healthy, that they'll bounce back from this rough stretch. But no, they're playing out of their minds and the Lakers are still unable to get wins. I will say outside of those guys, they have dealt with a number of injuries. Gabe Vincent has hardly played for them. Jared Vanderbilt missed a lot at the beginning of the season. Rui Hachimura has missed some time. D'Lo didn't play tonight and has missed a few games here and there. But at the same time, Austin Reeves has played every single game. Anthony Davis and LeBron James have missed 5 games combined, which is huge for you. That's not typical for the Lakers. Taurean Prince has just missed a couple games. D'Lo's missed just 3. Most of their top guys have been healthy. It's just not really working. And you take a look across the locker room, across the court tonight, at the Miami Heat, who have dealt with countless injuries. Tyler Hero missing most of the season so far. Same thing with Bam Adebayo. Jimmy Butler has been very in and out of the lineup. They still find ways to get wins. They're still able to put together great team efforts that propel them over the finish line, even if their stars are struggling or just aren't even playing. It's a great example of what the Lakers could be, but they're not. Probably one of the biggest reasons why there's this difference is coaching. Erik Spoelstra on one side of this game is the best coach in the world. That coaching staff has a lot of great minds on it. They've got these guys knowing exactly what role they need to play. They have everybody ready to step up. Everyone knows exactly what they need to do on any given night, and they get things done. Meanwhile, for the Lakers, they may have a new head coach sooner than later. The catalyst for me making this video today is a report that came out from Shams. He put out an Athletic article where he said basically there's a deepening disconnect between Darvin Ham and the locker room, which has raised questions about the head coach's standing. Article carries on to say that disjointedness between the coach and team has stemmed from the extreme rotation and starting lineup adjustments from Ham, leading to a fluctuating rhythm for several players across the roster. The article also later says that there are specific instances where Ham would put out a starting lineup and they were just kind of left confused, that there have been moments where adjustments haven't been great. Pretty much it seems like people in the locker room and in the front office are not happy with Darvin Ham. And if you ask Lakers fans, I think they'll echo the sentiment that they believe Darvin Ham is the biggest problem with this Lakers team right now. And I will agree, I don't think he's that great of a coach. Tonight against the Heat, he started Austin Reeves, Taurean Prince, Cam Reddish, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, which is their 10th starting lineup of the season. We're only 30 games in, by the way, so like a third of their games has had a different starting lineup. And this is also the third starting lineup in 3 games. So in the midst of this losing streak, he's desperately trying to find anything that works. And I guess I credit him for not just sitting there and seeing what happens. But at the same time, you have to give guys a chance to build rhythm together as a lineup, as a unit. If you're trying something new every single game, how do guys know exactly what they're supposed to do in specific instances? How do you expect them to build cohesion over that time? You've dealt with injuries, but most of the injuries haven't been to these key starters that you're utilizing. So it's not like those are forcing you to make these decisions. He's just kind of trying to change stuff to see what works. And tonight's lineup, like many of the other starting lineups he's tried, haven't been great. One main gripe I have is I don't know why Austin Reeves for most of the season has been kept out of the starting lineup. At the beginning of the year, I understand. He struggled, you moved him to the bench, and it was working. But now, regardless of the role he's been in, he's been playing really well. You're a team that needs offense, needs shooting, needs ball handlers in most of your lineups. Start Austin Reeves. There have been multiple times where they started LeBron James as like the only ball handler out there, and it leads to an offense that's stagnant, that doesn't have a lot of shooting, that just cannot generate offense, which has been a problem for them all year. Start your third best player. I guess one of the arguments for benching Austin Reeves is his defense, which, yeah, the defense isn't good, but I think you need the offense a little bit more, and the guy that he was benched for majority of the season in D'Lo, also not a very good defender. Then D'Lo even got benched, and Reeves didn't move to the starting lineup. So why would you not put him back in there if that's the reason that he was out of it, is because you wanted him to kind of run that second unit, D'Lo to run the first one? Why are they now both off the bench as bad defenders? You're not putting any offense in. He also said he wanted Austin Reeves to only play like 28 minutes per game, which is crazy when you have 39-year-old LeBron and Anthony Davis, who are both injury prone, playing like 35 minutes a game out there trying to win. I just don't understand. He throws out some really bad lineups and just has terrible rotations that end up with no spacing, no ball handlers. He's throwing out starting lineups all over the place. And after the game, he talked about how the Lakers can't really judge this team because of injuries and how it's hard to win when you're missing a few cogs out of your team. It's harder to win in that regard than it is for a Heat team that was without Jimmy Butler tonight, missing that big dog, which I don't necessarily agree with that, and the sentiment isn't helped by the fact that after the game, also in the same post-game press conference, Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis pretty much say that there's no excuses, that dealing with injuries isn't an excuse, that a lot of teams deal with them. We have to still find ways to win with the guys in this locker room, which they're entirely right. A lot of teams have been beat up this season. A lot of teams are missing their top players. The Lakers have had most of their top guys consistently healthy, and they're not putting together wins. Not to mention the fact that LeBron James didn't even speak to the media after the game. So all these things, on top of the fact that apparently this Shams report came from 6 different sources, shows me that Darvin Ham probably doesn't have much time left here as the head coach of the Lakers. To me, this is probably the right decision. He's lost the locker room, and he just hasn't been a fit at all for this Lakers team. Maybe he's better as an assistant coach, but for the head coach of the Lakers, don't really think this is the role that they need him in right now. Although I will say, as much as Darvin Ham has not done a great job, he's not the only problem for this team. It's not like the Lakers are going to fire Darvin Ham, bring someone else new in, which, by the way, I don't know who they're going to bring in. Most of the top coaching candidates have been picked up at this point, and it's really hard to find success success when switching a head coach mid-season. Maybe it works for the Lakers. I mean, I guess it worked for LeBron in the past with the David Blatt firing and bringing in Tyronn Lue, but that was kind of an outlier circumstance, and this Lakers team is a lot worse than that Cavaliers team was, so I don't know. We'll see if they're still able to make a deep run if they switch their head coach, but he's not going to fix all the problems. This Lakers team has a lot of just personnel-based issues. They don't have a lot of two-way players or consistent players whatsoever. They're still intensely reliant on LeBron James and Anthony Davis. The defense has still been good, but the offense is terrible. They still cannot shoot the ball, which has felt like a problem for years at this point. I don't know how they still don't have reliable three-point shooters. They just don't look very good outside of the rotations, outside of the weird lineup changes. The personnel on the roster just itself has not been good. And that's surprising to me because I like their offseason. I like the continuity. I like the additions that they made. I like that they didn't go out there and add a big name star. They just kept this thing together. This team that was one of the better second half teams in the NBA and a team that made the Western Conference Finals, even if they did get swept. At this point in the season, it feels like they do need to make a deal because of how poorly it's going. Cam Reddish is shooting just 29% from three, as well as he's defended. Hasn't really been a threat from the outside whatsoever. Christian Wood hasn't done a ton off the bench. I didn't think he was going to have a big role or anything like that, but I have just generally not been super impressed. Taurean Prince is hitting his shots, credit to him, but Gabe Vincent has hardly played as one of their other big additions. Jackson Hayes doesn't do too much for you at all. D'Lo runs the offense well, but still can't really defend. Vanderbilt is one of the worst offensive players in the league. Rui Hachimura has been inconsistent. There's just not a lot of consistency on this roster, and most players play either one side of the ball or the other. Not many guys play both. I genuinely thought their offseason was great, but hey, maybe not. They're going to be able to make some big-time moves coming up here on January 15th. That's when D'Lo is eligible to be traded. It was one of their bigger contracts, and I do believe they're probably going to make some moves. There's no way they let this thing fly. Even if they fire Darvin Ham, I think there are still going to be moves to be made for this Lakers squad. We'll have to see what it is. I still don't love the idea of them chasing a star, maybe just finding more reliable role players, although it also feels like every time they've tried to go out there and add role players, they just don't add the right guys. But you've got to do something. LeBron is 39. Anthony Davis is about to turn 31. They're both playing phenomenally at this point. They're both actually healthy. Whether you got to fire Darvin Ham, you've got to make trades, probably do both things. Something has got to give for this Lakers team. They've also got a hard schedule coming up here. They're about to play Memphis on January 5th, who have looked really good since Ja came back. Then you've got the Clippers, the New Look Raptors, who have been solid so far, the Phoenix Suns, the Utah Jazz, who are playing their best basketball right now, the Thunder, the Dallas Mavericks, over the next 7 games. Those are your next 7 games. I could realistically see the Lakers losing 5 out of those 7 games, and if that's the case, I don't think Darvin Ham still has a job at the end of this stretch. I don't think he probably does very long, but if the Lakers play like I think they might over that stretch of games, Darvin Ham is going to be fired. Trades are going to be happening sooner than later. It's probably going to be another busy trade deadline season for the Lakers. The continuity seemed like it would work, but it's been a disaster. The Lakers look terrible right now. And if the season wrapped today, I don't even know if they make the playoffs through the play-in tournament because I think some of those teams are just straight up better. With all that being said, appreciate y'all watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Comment down below what you think about this Lakers team. Should they make trades, whether it's for a star or some role players? Should they fire Darvin Ham or not? Is he being scapegoated? What would you do to fix this Lakers team, or do you think they're just kind of doomed at this point? I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say back.